Hi, everybody. Welcome to Elevate Your Life with Dr. T. I'm Dr. T, and this is the place where we give emotionally sensitive people not only a voice, but important tools for how to maneuver through life and be absolutely successful and be able to step up in life in the way that they want to. And so, with us today, we have Ashley Kay Parcel. And I'm going to go ahead and read her bio, and then we'll dive into a conversation and talk about the journey of emotional sensitivity and being an empath and how it is that we want to be able to help you all to roll and do what it is that you want to do in the world. So Ashley Kay Parcel is a holistic healer and writer aspiring to uplift your soul. Founder of Ashley K. Andy, she uniquely combines massage therapy, reiki, yoga-inspired movement, crystal healing, and aromatherapy for a healing experience like none other. Her intuitive healing relaxes the body, soothes the mind, and refreshes the spirit. Through 4 years of hands-on healing and currently mothering an adventurous toddler, she has discovered pathways to help others heal that go far beyond her treatment table. From teaching meditation and speaking at wellness fairs to leading women's retreats, Ashley is passionate about guiding women to reconnect with their intuitive abilities and understand their sensitivity superpowers. Her book, due to be released in fall of 2020, is a guidebook for empaths and highly sensitive persons to heal, grow, and become a mighty force of compassion in a world in need of our strengths. Welcome, Ashley Kay Parcel.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be speaking with you today.
It's great to have you here, a fellow comrade in this, emotional leadership of our emotionally sensitive population. And, Ashley, I think one of the most important things is for people to understand, about the journey to where we are today and us to be able to share and be here to support people in the work that we do. And so I really want to, get an understanding, and I want to have our audience understand, what has this journey been like for you, and what's brought you to make all of this a priority in your life?
Absolutely. So I was a highly sensitive, emotional child. As a young person, I was often overwhelmed, with all the feelings. I as I grew, I feel like each part of my journey through life, I've grown to understand myself better, and therefore other highly sensitive individuals and empathic beings. But really, I think the foundation for my current trajectory and this path for healing has occurred because of my own emotional and mental breakdown, really.
Okay.
I suffered through, like many others, I know you mentioned in your TED Talk as well, that you suffered through anxiety, and I myself went through some anxiety and depression issues that really spurred my growth. I was at a place at one point where it just felt so hopeless. I was so lost in feeling all the feelings, but not knowing how to navigate them, or even how to discern what was my own and what I was picking up on from those around me. So going through that experience and knowing, I always knew I had a mission to help others heal. From the time I was young, I had just a fire and that sensitivity to others. I could understand and feel when they weren't happy or comfortable or whatever it may be. And so I wanted those around me to feel that joy, that health, that wellness.
So Ashley, will you share more about these challenges? You're absolutely right. It has, for all of us emotionally sensitive people who feel everything, I mean, it can be very, very dark and very confusing. And being emotionally sensitive is a very unique experience, and yet I think people kind of think everybody is exactly that way, and there's some really profoundly intense stuff going on. And so share some more about these challenges that you were experiencing.
Yeah, absolutely. So my early 20s is when I really feel like everything kind of felt like a wave overtaking me. I didn't feel like I had control over my own life. I felt like everything was happening to me instead of me initiating what was happening in my own life. And I went through a series of painful and traumatic events that then led to that intense struggle. I was in a relationship that was unhealthy and abusive, and that experience alone, I've learned that there's a lot of highly sensitive individuals and empaths that struggle with boundaries, struggle with how to stay firm in your beliefs and what you know to be right as far as your own self-care, because we're so busy caring for those around us or wanting the other person to feel secure. So that, and then when I met my wonderful husband now, we had gotten pregnant and I lost a child. We had a miscarriage. And so those couple series of events that just made my anxiety go through the roof, really. I didn't understand how to cope with my own emotions. I mean, they were deep enough as it was before I experienced that.
Yeah. Like add something on here.
Yeah. So to feel those kind of intense moments and not understand how to navigate them was really a shift and a changing point when I discovered how to really stand up in my own abilities and recognize that, these feelings, these intense times, that's really a beautiful gift, because it offers such an opportunity for growth that then is allowed to just transcend your own self. When you grow through something, you're that much more able to help others grow.
Yeah.
And so,
well, and Ashley, as you mentioned, you were already sensitive and navigating through daily life. And then, this is what I speak to about in terms of like, not only do I feel like we're just still at an evolutionary stage where people aren't really still not getting the emotional foundation that they need for life because their parents didn't get it and so on.
Absolutely.
But then the more sensitive you are with these incredible intuitive gifts, that's a whole nother level of not having a foundational capacity of like, to be able to do what it is that you're meant to do with all of those feelings. Yeah. So you start adding, stuff gets added on, and a really traumatic event like the loss of a child, the reality is wherever our emotional foundation isn't where it needs to be for the regular demands of everyday life, everything else is just, it's a potential for implosion, right?
Absolutely. That's exactly what happens. I mean, yeah, I didn't have that secure foundation. I mean, growing up, I was blessed to grow up in a loving household, but there's things that our parents weren't taught because the generation before, and in navigating emotional health and wellness, mental health and wellness. And so, I mean, my poor dad, I think, was probably overwhelmed himself with my emotions a lot of times. Yeah. And my mother, she's part of where I get that emotional sensitivity. Yeah. She's very in tune, but also navigating it is just different. And I think the more that we can grow, the more we can then help generations like my daughter and others have that strong foundation that just allows them to blossom from the get-go.
That's right. Well, yeah, it's funny that you say that. We really share the dad piece, and that my dad passed away in August, and I continue to reflect. Thank you. I continue to reflect as I knew back, like at the earliest age of 4. I remember thinking, who's here for who? Like who's parenting who, or who's teaching who? Just knowing that he didn't have the emotional foundation to have a really powerful, emotionally powerful daughter that was requiring his emotional
Yes.
capacity to be higher.
Wow.
And so, so many of us emotionally sensitive people with, again, these are deep intuitive gifts. But if our, parents don't have even the base sort of emotional processing foundation, then when, and just speaking to any of you parents who know that you have an emotionally sensitive child, and you're just like, wow, this is so much, because your own child has this huge gift, and then now it's really a big deal to be able to, like, as you say, navigate and really help the child organize themselves with all these emotions, and where are they supposed to go and how are they supposed to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it is. And it's neat though that each generation has such deeper opportunity, as we transcend previous limiting beliefs and systems, and allow those to fall by the wayside. We're able to uplift that next generation just by being more aware ourselves. The more we can ground in our own abilities and our own gifts and own that fully, the more we can serve generation.
Well, and I want to acknowledge that as well, so that people, understand. And I know, Ashley, we share this, and that, here we are collaborating to really support it, really call attention to, give a voice and support emotionally sensitive, intuitive, empathic, gifted people. And the reality is that I know my mission is, like, so it's driven for children, right? It's our clients, of course, but it's really so that they have the ability to really truly develop their children emotionally, which is a really super freaking big job to do without really having a complete understanding of how how it works to be a person. So I'm sure you share that missionary focus as well.
Yeah. It's challenging even when you do have the foundation.
Yeah, exactly.
Or understanding. So yeah, it's all the more important to share.
Yeah, and I know, and you have an adventurous toddler,
yes.
Right? That you're supporting.
A very strong-willed, independent little thing. She's incredible. But she has, just her presence in my life has caused me to grow and deepen my emotional capacities just tremendously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's either going to happen, or, it's either like folding, or it's like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and grow. And this is the big, message that I have, and I'm sure you have, for emotionally sensitive people, that our capacity is so profoundly great, that really a big part of all of this is to really just understand how big it is, and how to be with it in a really peaceful, harmonious, prosperous way.
I think a lot of times the emotionally sensitive are the first to back away, to shrink down, to make themselves small. When right now is so important for us empaths and intuitive beings and emotionally sensitive to really share those gifts and rise up in a way that grows the empathy in the entire world. That sounds naive, but it's true. I think the more that we're able to help others understand the importance of empathy in general, the more we can understand our fellow men and women, and therefore, when we fully understand and open our mind and hearts to others, then the growth is limitless.
It is. No, we share so many of the same priorities and focuses, and thinking about our emotionally sensitive audience here. And that whatever you all might be going through at any moment, whatever you might be growing through at any moment, which is what's happening, right? Whether we resist it or not, it's in
Right.
progress. You know, there's often these really important turning points that come through the most intense experiences where it feels like we can't go another step further. We can't process another,
Yeah.
emotion or crisis. And, I'm wondering for you, Ashley, what was the turning point for you to really make a shift, not only from like trying to figure this out for yourself, but to then,
Mm.
know that you were going to go down a path to serve others in this area?
Yeah, there were a couple. It was kind of a series of events. A
Mm,
few of the ones that I mentioned that were more traumatic, but also I always knew I wanted to help others heal. I went to school for health sciences, but I felt off. I felt like there was something missing that I wasn't getting in the textbooks. That I didn't want to do health that way,
yeah.
and so then when I discovered hands-on therapies, massage therapy and reiki energy healing, I think the understanding of uniting our own, using our own intuition to
Yeah.
unite body, mind, and soul. But when I was pregnant with my daughter, I had a time where I could feel that I was about to have an anxiety attack, a panic attack, which was a regular thing when I was really suffering through
Yeah.
my anxiety issues. And in that moment, I feel like something in my brain kind of shifted, because I knew that if I was not breathing well and getting enough oxygen to my body, that wasn't getting enough to hers.
Mm,
And I had a moment of, okay, I can continue this path of allowing my emotions to wash over me and take control of my
yeah.
physical body, or I can resist that by understanding that what I'm feeling is deep, what I'm feeling is strong, but what's stronger is my mission and passion to
Yes.
make sure that this baby's healthy. I'm not,
Yes.
that I wasn't going to lose her.
Yeah.
And so that was a really strong shift
Wow.
for me. Yeah.
That's tremendous. Right. So through like one of the most intense moments again, where it can just feel like it's just it's unbearable, right? It's
Yes.
like you're surviving. It's unbearable, but this is this beautiful moment though of where a purpose greater than that suffering is
Yeah.
there and it's present, and when you connect to it, and obviously it was in you and of you
Yeah.
and all of this, but that's really important because that's one of the that's one of the our big priorities for people to understand that in purpose that there is all of this peace and that the body regulates itself and it wants to go forward toward a purpose and it wants the directions like healthy baby, like plain and clear that healthy mom, healthy baby, healthy life, whatever these outcomes are. And the moment you start connecting to to purpose and outcomes and the creative process, the body's chemistry starts shifting. The dopamine
Mm-hmm.
starts going up, the all the neurochemicals, and things you start to really reside in your power to produce outcomes. And is that sounds similar to what it
Oh,
was you were feeling?
yes, yeah. And those watching who are really in a dark place, in a heavy place, it's so easy when you're out of it to
Yeah.
look through that time and be like, oh wow, that was really challenging, but I experienced a shift and look where I am now. But when you're in that place, it can feel so daunting.
Yeah.
But to even just give yourself the space to feel what you're feeling now, not without shame, without
Yeah.
judgment, without
Yeah.
guilt, to to allow yourself to sit with it long enough to move forward, to
Yeah.
take that little tiny seed of like, but what has this taught me, or how is this fueling my soul growth?
I
Yeah.
love that, Ashley. The emotional training process that I do, the method that I do, it is all about um, being able to be so connected to yourself and
Yeah.
connected and aware when there's a shift, right? And again, as you said, whatever the shift is it coming from something on the news? Is it coming from something down the street? Is it coming from a memory, or a memory that you recognize, or a memory that is new? Whatever goes on when there is a shift, this is that moment of inquiry to check in, right? And
Absolutely.
the more
I think
conscious, yeah, the more conscious one gets, the more capable, right, to be in that moment and say, what is this, and what and to also be able to utilize it. This is for our usage, right, to do something with
yes,
that. But if we're always pushing away, especially as sensitive people who, get so highly stimulated, if we push
mm,
it away rather than say, okay, it's present and how can I use this, right? That's a
yes.
whole different experience. Otherwise, we're like fighting and battling things.
Yes, yeah. I think that's so key, recognizing that when we are in those moments of high anxiety or just tension and don't feel like things are flowing well,
Yeah.
that it's simply our intuition reminding us to reconnect, to tune in. Like there's a strong message behind these feelings that you're
Yeah.
experiencing. It's just a matter of sitting with yourself long enough and in quiet. I don't want to say quiet because it doesn't have to be, but
Yeah.
allowing your mind to soften and be more still and just allow that intuitive voice to come through, because
Love
it
that.
does.
It
I think a lot
does.
of times, like you mentioned, stimulation. I mean, in the world, regardless of whether you're highly sensitive or an empath,
Yeah.
there's so much, we're bombarded, so when you are at a heightened empathic or sensitivity level, that can be very triggering and can feel very overwhelming. So it's all the more important for us to find those ways to tune in. And the book I'm working on, I do outline, I have 6 lifestyle tools that, when applied, all of those come together to help create that lifestyle of wellness and functioning at your highest ability and strength and energy.
I love this, Ashley. And, again, helping everybody recognize that whether it is anxiety or frustration or impatience, or whatever feels stimulating, that in fact, at least in my absolute perspective here, what's going on is that we are feeling the stimulation, right? It can feel like it's ours or it's theirs or whatever, but ultimately there's a big stimulating process going on to pay attention to. And that really brings me to want to learn so much more, Ashley, about the way in which, whether it shows up as anxiety or whatever, however it shows up for a person, whatever the symptomology is. Share with us the ways in which you've really, become an expert in helping people in the different modalities that you use and how that works.
Yeah. So when I first started massage therapy, it was very practical. I wanted to make sure that I was taken seriously as a health professional. I wanted to, it was very, I tried so hard to be practical about it, I guess, and logical, when healing itself is not
Yeah.
at all. So the more I've been able to tap into the energy healing and meditation, I'm also a meditation teacher as well. So the more that I've been able to apply those and really unite all these holistic health methods that have been practiced for thousands of
Yeah.
years, in uniting them has been so powerful for people. I've been able to see such transformation that just blows me away. And then the more I open up to helping them heal, the more I feel intuitively come through, and I'll find, I'll be able to know what's going on with their body, but also what's heavy on their heart and what's going on in their mind. And so that process, I think, has been really neat. But for me personally, discovering or rediscovering yoga and meditation has been so powerful.
So, Ashley, give us an idea of, like, say an emotionally sensitive person that's struggling with some of these classic symptoms, right? With anxiety, with issues with energy and emotional exhaustion and cycles of depression, and maybe even having gone into the progression of things that happens where there's so much more physical maladies, maybe an autoimmune progression, and a lot of emotionally sensitive people get diagnosed with ADD, and they just, there's a whole profile of like basically your system is imploding.
Yeah.
And how do you approach that, and like what's the way in which you would work with somebody like that just says also like I want a total transformation? How would that be for somebody to be able to work with you that way?
It's hard to answer that because for every person it looks so different.
Got it. Okay.
Meeting them where they're at is very key, but also determining what fuels them, where their passions lie, but also the areas in which they've experienced pain, physical, mental, or emotional. I think, I think by truly stepping back and listening and really tuning into my own intuitive voice, using that time. I'm here to be a healer. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
So allowing my own mental or cognitive preconceived notions of what I feel like I should do to step aside and allow it to be focused on them. But it's different for every person. But the neat thing is, when people initially found me because they had physical pain, we almost always discovered that there was more to that. Really, when we feel physical pain, that's the last sign or signal that something's wrong or something's off. So to be able to learn how to recognize the earlier signs, how are we breathing?
Right.
How are we feeling throughout our body? Not just pain, but slowing down long enough to listen, I think, is one of the main lessons that I try to implement regardless of what someone's healing journey looks like.
Okay. So it's definitely, it's my premise I've been operating on for a very, very long time, that other than a few, there's fairly few illnesses that are truly genetically catalyzed, right? Where it's like, you have this gene, you have the genes for Huntington's, you're going to have Huntington's. It's my intuitive experience and perception, with a lot of deep exploration and a deep connection to my own navigation system and the source of all things, and the way that I'm really very, very connected, that disease is primarily emotionally driven, and it's about a disconnection from the self. It's about taking in the environment in a chaotic way. And the difference between whether or not our intuitive self is going to shape the environment or we are going to be shaped by the environment, because there's all kinds of fabulousness and then there's all kinds of chaos. And so it makes sense that, it's just like I really, when you talk about the physical and realizing there's so much more there, I felt that way in the beginning of being a psychologist. I just knew I was not going to work with somebody just in therapy. We were going to bring in all types of integrative modalities in order to help the entire person, their symptomology, but the root emotional causes of things. And so I feel really aligned with you in that you're really assessing the person and diagnosing intuitively and with your expertise what it is that's going on.
Absolutely. So the Western medicine field, while it has some really tremendous, advantages and opportunities for healing, I think one of the downsides to the progression that we've had is that disconnect and treating a particular part. I mean, things are so specialized, like, okay, we're going to treat a particular part of you. And regardless of whether it's physical or beyond, I think the more we can look at the whole person and not just the physical, the more that we can help people heal. But to find that, Yeah, that source when somebody is, I mean, disease itself is dis-ease.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily, it's a state of not being functioning at your highest and most well. And that a lot of times is spurred, even if it is something genetic or something that, is not as influenced initially or begun by environment, it is dramatically influenced by
the
environment, mental state.
Yeah, this is why, this is why for me, no matter what disorder or symptom somebody presents with, I just know the entire outcome of how their body's supposed to be functioning, based on them. And I don't consider any diseases to be incurable or
and looking at the whole picture of their life too, versus like I've noticed, just in working with people, it's easy to say, oh, well, this is because of this, oh, my shoulder tension is because of the way I sit at my job. Okay, but let's explore more avenues or more, not only can we address maybe how that could look different for you, but how else in your life. And then we discover like, oh, I haven't been moving or stretching or hydrating or whatever it may be, physically. And then of course there's the emotional.
This is what I would consider not just being reactive to what it is that the person is saying that something is, because there's just a deeper matrix of understanding and lots of stuff about what is going on in the person, around the person, and beyond, even as I know I was reading about you, and it beyond even just the multi-sensory, the typical sensory capacity. And that's why it's so fun for us emotionally sensitive, very multi-sensory people to be on the job, so to speak, and supporting and helping and guiding people into, really a big optimizing of themselves and their ability to fulfill their purpose.
Yes. Yeah. It is. Yeah. It is such important and wonderful work I'm excited to be a part of. Yeah.
So Ashley, how about, this combining of these incredibly important, ancient, ancestral modalities that are all completely and totally relevant, right here and right now. What are the things that, what are the with all of that, what is it that you can share with people, some things that they can be doing to really, have the kind of outcomes that they want for themselves, and what, again, what they could expect if they were working with you, what kind of processes and things that they should know about are part of your repertoire and arsenal that they can get a hold of.
Sure. Yeah. So my basis and foundation started with massage therapy. So I do typically start with the table, I do massage and Reiki and apply crystals towards the end. But the energy healing has been the component that's been really powerful to add. I was always doing some energy healing. I just wasn't aware of it or understood how to navigate it, control it, help. I shouldn't say control, allow it to flow in the way that it should. But I think through that has been a journey of surrender, which regardless of how somebody is seeking healing, whether it be on my table or through meditation mentoring, I do guided meditations with people where I guide them through some movement and energetic release, but then tune in, allow them to relax and just listen. And
I just relaxed.
I'm like, I do have a couple up on my YouTube channel, but I'm getting more ready. Okay. So I'm working right now on a chakra series of intuitive guidance and meditation for each chakra aligning and healing. So I kind of went in a spiral around your
No, it makes so much sense to me as somebody who really focuses deeply at the emotional realm. I can also say that just, one of my greatest chapters of transformation came as I began to study ballroom dancing and to really just, grow in my body and grow using my body and to recognize myself and my patterns and all the ways in which everything that goes beyond the verbal that is there to be completely aware of, and to be able to, if I wanted to help a client have an outcome they want, I could be doing that while I'm dancing. I could be using my body to create outcomes and really understand myself and grow. And so it just feels incredibly important for people to understand that again, this is a whole full scale human experience, and that
Yes.
really knowing oneself on every level, on every cell and every organ and every muscle and tendon, and going down it, really indulging, I feel like, in this deep connection to understanding all of these aspects of ourselves and the way that they work together, is such just a mind-blowing, powerful, expansive thing. Your thoughts on that?
I love that you dance.
Yes.
I do as well, and a lot of my movement is kind of a combination of yoga and dance, and I kind of, meditative movements.
Yeah,
but
it is.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think our a couple of the tools that I mentioned earlier that are in my book are movement and creative expression, are allowing ourselves time to tune in intuitively when it comes to motion and movement, and how we express ourselves physically, whether it be dance or whether it be running or even walking and enjoying nature around you. But also finding a means of creative expression that lights you up. I mean, it can be anything under the sun, as long as you feel called to do it and excited about it. That is allowing us to unite that body, mind, soul package even more.
And Ashley, share more about what's going to be in this book that's coming out. What can people expect?
Oh gosh, I'm so excited. This is basically the guidebook I wish I had. I'm introducing, if you haven't heard of the word empath before, but you know you're a sensitive human, I'm introducing what the traits are, understanding your gifts and your abilities and how to navigate those and use them, overcoming the negatives that we experience regarding boundaries and energy, surrounding us. But then those 6 life tools that I mentioned, that when all implemented in unity together, leads to a more cohesive, joyful, healthy experience in life, as well as some practical advice, some hands-on tools that we can pull out and use at any time when needed.
Love it. And that's coming.
I'm thrilled. I can't wait to get it out there in people's hands. I know right now it's so needed. I mean, it's always been needed, but I feel even more called to share it now.
And this is coming out in the fall, and just so you know, we'll give the links to your book, Ashley, for everyone to have. And just so we know, what's the book called?
Empaths at the Edge is the working
title. Empaths at the Edge. Can we all relate to that?
Right? At the edge in multiple ways. At the edge, feeling like we're about to lose it, or at the edge, feeling that there's something greater and that we're about to launch into a life that just surpasses anything we've imagined.
And Ashley has your back, everyone. Before you go over the edge. That is so awesome. I love just keeping it 100% real. Like, we're at the edge. We're also at the edge of this amazing, incredible expansion. And leaning into that is such a powerful thing. And I want to say,
we do all have a choice when we are at that edge. We can think back. We can stay where it's safe, or choose to stay in the current state, or we can use that to just launch.
Yeah. We can use that. Yeah, I love that, there's so much that we're doing, you're doing, and that, leaders like ourselves are stepping up and showing up. And so for everybody, there's this incredibly emotionally sensitive, empathic, powerfully gifted community to really receive, right? Because your needs are being addressed, right? They're being addressed, and and to really receive that and to take full, I really recommend, invite everybody to take total ownership of this capacity that you are and all that it's capable of, and definitely, the instruction manual for being an empath. This is,
Yeah.
what Ashley and I are both, doing in the world. And so I invite everybody to really receive that and become the experts that we want to be on how all of this awesomeness works, right? So it doesn't end up backfiring on us, and going in places that we didn't intend it to go, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that sensitivity truly is our superpower when we step into it. But that's the key, is we have to do the stepping into it and the standing up with it.
And Ashley, what would you say is your favorite part about being an empath, an emotionally sensitive person? What's your favorite part about it?
Wow. The opportunity it allows me to help others heal. Yeah. It's part of my life purpose for sure. If not, well, yeah, the very most important, as well as raising Hallie. I think, I am amazed, really, because it all started with, how can I help this relieve the tension in this muscle? And it's grown to, healing people's hearts and allowing them lives that are far beyond where they were struggling, where they thought they could get to. And that's been so powerful. And I'm immensely grateful for these gifts, and everyone's gift really is unique. So
it's incredible.
Tapping into how you can use it to not only better your own life, but to serve is huge.
Well, you have me thinking or reminded of, that question of how can I address X or Y? How do I fix this or that? It's like that is absolutely the very moment where, when you lean into that question, also from a non-stressful place, like the place that says, okay, this is the invitation, knowing that invitation is for you to become an expert on that, but also that expertise will evolve in how you will do that. As you do that for yourself, you literally set yourself up to bring that expertise into whatever realms that you are operating in. Right. And that's what's so darn amazing, is that you are helping people just by leaning into what it is that is calling for you to pay attention to. It's really cool.
It really is.
It's really cool. So Ashley, what would you say are some results that people can expect from really just, taking ownership of this emotional sensitivity, and all of these empathic qualities, and developing them in these different ways, and the healing and the strengthening? What are some things that people can expect from that?
Peace. Feeling able to be at peace and content with where you are right now. I think we're so often just continuously cycling around, where should I be? Where do I want to be? What did I do wrong in the past? Like those mental stories that just continue and cycle around. So the more that we're able to heal and reconnect ourselves, the more we can just feel at peace and live more mindfully. I keep addressing parents, mothering is being able to be a more mindful and grounded mother has been huge. But regardless of what you're doing in life, being grounded in your passion and your purpose, and feeling just that sense of alignment and peace in who you are is powerful.
That's a good one. Yeah, I concur. I absolutely concur. And
granted, I should make known that is not all the time. That is
Well,
something to continually speak. Even
yeah.
yeah.
Let's linger in that. Let's linger in that a little bit longer, right? That
Yes.
this sense
Yes.
of being the self, so that this being a person
Yes.
isn't difficult. That it's actually it actually we're actually helping people connect to actually the ease with which is available in
Yeah.
being a human, when you really have a sense of how it all works, and that
Yeah.
intuitive
Being able
path
to
for
be
each person.
yeah, being able to be an observer of your emotions instead of, and be aware of how much they, how much they impact our state of being, versus being, like you said earlier, reactive and fully engaging with each emotion flow is exhausting.
I'll be like, "Where's she going? Oh, no, come back over here, right? Where are we going here?" So Ashley, thinking, the thing I like to know is what people's, like, their contribution is, what they feel their contribution is, their role, their big piece of input, their imprint, even though it is so broad and deep. I think sometimes, like, if I could describe what it is that I do and how it works, and really most importantly what happens for people, it is so extensive and expansive. But I also feel like there's a core message that we have for people. And as morbid as this may sound, one of the questions I have here to wrap up is, if you weren't going to be here tomorrow, and it was so key for people to know the most important message that you have for them, and the thing that for the rest of their life that they would have with them, and they might even think, Ashley taught me that, and then what they would be doing with that. What is that for you? What does it feel like for you that you want people to know about how they can make their life better, how they can be better, or whatever that message is for you?
That your sensitivity truly is a gift. It's something that allows you to tap into what you, as a unique person, have to share with the world around you. And by owning that and understanding there is a vulnerability in sharing it, but when you do, you have the potential to reach other sensitive hearts, and those who haven't opened up to the sensitivity, that need it in order to help this world heal and help unify our species, but beyond that, to allow our planet to heal and live in unity. It does all start within, and owning our sensitivity and the gifts that it brings along with it is the most important part of that, I think.
Lovely. Wonderful. You all heard it from Ashley. So this is for you to take in and receive. And along those lines, Ashley, go ahead and share how people can connect with you, where you want them to find you, and what you want them to do.
Absolutely. Most everything you can find as Ashley K. Andy. My website is ashleykandy.com. And I will be updating as book updates come about, and once that is released this fall as well. And then on social, on Instagram land, I am in Ashley K. Andy as well, with periods between, but if you search, you'll find me. And same with Facebook. I tend to do a lot of my sharing on Instagram, but I do have a blog going on my website too. So
excellent. Well, it has been wonderful having you on the show, collaborating and giving a voice to emotionally sensitive, empathic people, and giving them the tools that they need to succeed in this world. Thank you, Ashley.
Wonderful to be a part of this conversation. Thank you for the work you're doing as well.
Take care.